So let's talk about Donald Trump, because India's position is absolutely clear. Any kind of intimidation, bullying will not work. When it comes to national interest, there will be no compromise. Now, this message was given by Prime Minister Modi himself, who said that he is ready to give up the personal equation is concerned, but when the United States has decided to punish India with the highest tariff of 50%, the question now is what happens next. India now has around 19 days to get those additional 25 tariffs removed, and for this negotiations are on the trade deal. That also seemed to be very important. Because, however, it seems that Donald Trump is not very keen on that anymore. There has been several rounds of negotiations that have been taking place, and the 6th round of talks between Washington and New Delhi are supposed to happen on this month of the 25th. Now, India so far remains optimistic about the final setting, especially when it comes to signing the bilateral trade agreement. But this month itself, Donald Trump's latest reaction to a direct question seems to indicate that no more negotiations until the tariff issue is resolved. Listen in.
Mr. President, just to follow up on the India tariffs, do you expect increased trade negotiations, since you've announced the 50% tariff?
No, not until we get it resolved.
Mr. President, just to follow up on the India tariffs, do you expect increased trade negotiations, since you've announced the 50% tariff?
No, not until we get it resolved.
Mr. President.
But with Donald Trump, one cannot be so sure, and 19 days are more than enough when it comes to diplomacy. Meanwhile, the House Affairs, the Foreign Committee Democrats, however, have also expressed their concerns about potential impact on established India-US relationship. There are prominent American congressmen as well who seem to be suggesting that Donald Trump's tariff tantrum could risk years of careful work that has gone in building the strong partnership. But with reactions that have been coming in, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has now spoken to the Brazilian president, and he says, especially when it comes to also having a word in this conversation with the president of Russia, both of those leaders have now reaffirmed their commitment to further deepen partnership, and he is also likely to visit India later this year on this invitation that has been extended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi since the Russia-Ukraine conflict that began back in 2022. On the other hand, we've also learned that Prime Minister would be visiting China to attend the SCO, and there is a possibility of a bilateral to also happen between the Chinese President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But all of these things that are now happening, as far as what position does now the United States find itself in? Shinjoy, good morning. Several meetings now in the line, conversations that have been taking place. Of course, the bigger one that we're looking at of this possible meeting that will happen between both the presidents of Russia and the US. But if there is, an agreement that is reached to, how would it impact India on the steep tariff hike that has been announced by President Trump?
The meeting between Trump and Putin will be one of the most consequential meetings in recent years. And the focus, of course, will be on Ukraine. The idea is that the war has been going on for 3 years. And it's entirely possible that the total casualties, that means dead plus wounded, both sides added up together, is more than 1 million. Can you imagine 3 years of war, 1 million plus casualties? That's a huge amount and a huge loss. Now, this is a war in a sense that the West is fighting, helping Ukraine to fight. America, Britain, France, Germany have all supplied weapons to the Ukrainians. Russia has also used a lot of its resources, human particularly. The Russian level of casualties, because they have been fighting, they have been attacking, has been enormous. Now this war, the earlier it ends, it's better for everyone. It's better for India because fuel, food, fertilizer prices have all gone through the roof. And the fact that India is buying Russian oil today is one reason for that, is the fact that because of the Ukraine war and the Middle East war, fuel prices have shot up. And Russia is selling India or fuel more cheaply. Now, all of these things will have an impact, first of all. Secondly, this has led to strained US-India ties. If the war ends, then there is less Russian fuel to buy. If fuel prices come down, then perhaps it would be easier for India and America to get back together, because things are not very good right now.
Well, he seems to be non-committal on that as far as this question that was asked from the US President Donald Trump, whether it comes to the steep hike in tariff that was announced by him, would it come down or would it be withdrawn if a ceasefire agreement is reached between Ukraine and Russia, which Donald Trump says he likes to play a big part in it. But when we speak of the trade tensions that continue to simmer, Trump-Putin meeting is now set for the 15th of August. As we've been pointing out, this is going to be the high-stake talks that would be taking place in Alaska on the 15th of August. And this has been the announcement of the meeting that has been made by President Trump himself. On the account of Truth Social, as this announcement that has been made, of course, as Shinjoy was pointing out, this is going to be one of the most consequential meetings there. Will it put the war to an end? Will there be a ceasefire agreement that will be reached to? Let's take a look quickly as far as his statement is now concerned, where he says that the highly anticipated meeting between myself as the President of the United States of America and President Vladimir Putin of Russia will take place next Friday, 15th of August, 2025 in the great state of Alaska. Further details to follow. Thank you for your attention on this matter. But that is the typical style that in which Donald Trump writes on his Truth Social. But trade tensions that have been continuing. But on the 15th of August, this meeting that would be taking place. Meanwhile, let's talk about China here. Because when it comes to the Chinese ambassador to India, he's taken a jab at the US President Donald Trump after his tariff imposition on various countries, including India, with a text where he's added a post quoting an excerpt from the talks between the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and the chief advisor to the President of Brazil. Now, even the Chinese mouthpiece is now writing in favor of India, calling it as a victim of US bullying tactics. And now this newfound bonhomie between India and China can be credited to Donald Trump. He wants to take the credit here as well. But with Modi's deft diplomacy can now be recognized by the opposition, because they continue to take on the government, saying that when it comes to the relationship that was built with the United States for so many years, what happened to that? Has India now decided to buckle under pressure? Those are the questions now being raised by the opposition.
These are all only words from Mr. Modi. Actions are weighted. Mr. Modi is not having the guts to call Trump's lies, Trump's threat as threat. Now he will just keep on diverting with this kind of dialogues, Amitabh Bachchan dialogues in speeches. Let him show in actions first. Let him put the tariff. Let him increase the tariff on the American goods. Let him show that we can also act.
Definitely, we need to build our relationships with other countries. But the American market cannot be immediately replaced by other countries. Like an Indian supplier, for example, a pharmaceutical supplier or a textile supplier or a seafood supplier or any supplier, can't immediately find a customer in Brazil or Russia overnight. I mean, there will be repercussions to Indian business. But my view is that Trump's levying tax on a tariff on India is not merely tied to the fact that India is buying Russian oil, because the European Union buys energy from Russia. America itself does a lot of trade with Russia. I think this is there are some other reasons to it. And I'm hearing speculations that because of corporations controlled by the Pakistan army have very close business ties with the Trump organization. This might be due to their coercion that the Trump administration is levying tariffs on India. Because I don't for a minute believe that these tariffs are only because India is trading with Russia.
जो कुछ चल रहा है ये काफी चिंतित है कि एक देश जो हमारे नजदीकी रिश्ता से चल रहे थे, जो मैं कहूँ एक स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप के बुनियाद पे हम काम कर रहे थे और हमारे दूसरे पॉलिसीज पे भी असर पड़ता था इससे, अगर उस देश उनके एटीट्यूड को बदल लिए तो भारत को बहुत सारी चीजें सोचना पड़ेगा. शायद आने वाले 2-3 हफ्ते में जहां हमारे नेगोशिएशंस चल रहे हैं कि शायद कुछ दूसरे अंडरस्टैंडिंग, दूसरा समझौता पे पहुंच जा सकेंगे, मालूम नहीं है. लेकिन भारत को भी अपने हित है. वी हैव आवर ओन सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट. इसके बुनियाद में ही हमारे नेगोशिएटर्स काम करेंगे. तो मेरे ख्याल में ये नेगोशिएशन कैसे चलेगा, हमें 2-3 हफ्ता इंतजार करना पड़ेगा.
मैं लगातार केंद्र सरकार से पूछ रही थी और खास करके कॉमर्स मिनिस्टर से कि वो देश की जनता को अवगत करें कि क्या वो ट्रेड डील चालू है पॉज पे है, अबेयंस पे है, बंद है और देश को जवाब ना देकर अब डोनाल्ड ट्रंप जवाब दे रहे हैं, और जिससे हमें पता चल रहा है कि जो ट्रेड डील है अभी ठंडे बक्से में रख दी गई है। पर ये ट्रंप का एक और तरीका है हमें आर्म ट्विस्ट करने का, हमें बुली करने का। नेशनल इंटरेस्ट को सबसे ऊपर रखते हुए, नेशनल सॉवरेनिटी को सबसे ऊपर रखते हुए हमारी सरकार को वो हर कदम उठाना पड़ेगा जिससे यूएस जिस तरीके से हमारे व्यापारों पे थ्रेट लगा रहा है, टैरिफ्स लगा रहा है, उसको हम किसी तरीके से रिजॉल्व कर पाए और हमारे एक्सपोर्टर्स के लिए, हमारे बिजनेसमैन के लिए कोई सोल्यूशन ढूंढ पाए।
भारत के हित के लिए जो भी उचित है वो होना चाहिए। व्यापारिक हित भारत के व्यक्तिगत कारणों से नहीं रोका जाना चाहिए। हम ट्रंप से आग्रह करेंगे कि ये 50% का जो टैरिफ लगाया इसे वापस लें। माना मोदी सरकार की विदेश नीति की भटकाव और उनका अनुभवहीनता, अपने विदेश मंत्रालय के ब्रीफिंग से बाहर जाके नारा लगा दिया, अगली सरकार ट्रंप सरकार, नमस्ते ट्रंप, हाउडी मोदी, ये सब करके स्थापित जो नीति थी कि हम किसी दूसरे देश के आंतरिक मामले में हस्तक्षेप नहीं करेंगे। कुछ तो है मामला, दबी हुई है और कुछ मोदी जी की ट्रंप के सामने।